One of the most common questions I see and hear regarding the Maschine is how do I match my sample tempo to my project tempo? What's up guys, Barry here, and if it's your first time to the channel, we talk about beat making and music production within the Maschine. So if that's your thing, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. With that said, in this video I'm going to share with you a couple ways that you can time stretch your samples within the Maschine. The first way we're going to look at is through the sample module. The tune knob within the sampler module controls both the sample's pitch and tempo. Here's a sample at its original state. On the hardware, you'll find the tune function on the second page of the sampler. With that said, let's move the tune knob down to hear what that does. Notice a change in both pitch and tempo. Personally, I use this time stretching method the most, as I prefer for the sample to dictate the direction of the beat. It's great for experimenting and is less calculated than the other methods. So let's quickly chop it up onto the 16 pads and start experimenting. The main problem with utilizing this method is finding the tempo. Once I like the tune setting, I utilize tap tempo to adjust the project's BPM. It takes some practice and coordination, but it gets you close to the sample's tempo. Let's turn on the metronome and see how close I got. If you need a deeper explanation on how to find the BPM of a specific sample, hit the description for that tutorial. With that said, let's check out the audio module to see its time stretching functionalities. Where the tune knob within the sampler module dictates both pitch and tempo, the tune knob within the audio module only controls the pitch. Let's bring down the tune to hear what it does. And now to pitch it up. Notice that regardless of where the tune knob is set, the tempo of the sample is unchanged. That's because the audio module auto-syncs and stretches to the project tempo. So for example's sake, the tune is set back to 0, and let's change the project tempo to 120 and give it a listen. The pitch remains the same and the tempo of the sample matches the tempo of the project, with minimal changes to the audio quality of the sample. Let's bring the BPM down and give it a listen. With the audio module, you can independently control the pitch and the tempo. For this to work correctly, you'll want a perfect loop. Whether it be a bar, 4 bars, or 8 bars, knowing the original tempo of the sample also helps. With that said, 2 parameters to be mindful of are your 2 source parameters, tempo and length. Tempo refers to the sample's original tempo, and length refers to the length of the sample in beats, not bars. If your sample isn't syncing with the project tempo, these are the 2 parameters to check first. The piano roll is a great place to double check this. So if I were to change the source tempo, you can see the waveform move out of sync. If the source tempo is too fast, you'll see the waveform cross the 4 bars. If it's too slow, you'll see a different shade of waveform, which refers to a new loop starting. For your sample to remain a 4-bar loop with no added tail to the end, you want to make sure that the loop optimization feature is checked off within the export menu. From there, you can export the sample from the audio module to a new pad to capture the new pitch and tempo, allowing you to chop it up and replay it using the sampler module. If you don't like jumping between the sample module and the audio module, you can utilize the stretch function within the sample editor. To access the sample editor, select the wave icon below the piano roll, or by pressing the sampling button on the hardware. From there, you'll want to find the stretch function on the bottom of the screen or tap through the editing features on the hardware. Within the stretch menu, you'll see a number of parameters, the most important ones being tune, which similar to the audio module controls the pitch, source BPM, new BPM, which tells Maschine your desired tempo, and the length, which measures the sample in bars, not beats. So if you want to change the tempo of your sample, you simply change the new BPM and hit apply. And if I were to change the project tempo and turn on the metronome, you hear that the project and the sample are synced. Now if you decide that you don't like that BPM, you can simply change the new BPM to a different value. But in order for this to correctly stretch, you'll have to change the source BPM to the current BPM of the sample. So in this case, 120. And you notice simply clicking on the parameter gives you halftime, regular, and double time options. In order to type in a value, simply turn auto detect off. And once again, we can adjust the project tempo and double check the BPM of the sample. Lastly, if you want to change the pitch of the sample, you can do that under tune. And so that the stretching algorithm doesn't do anything weird, I like to change the source BPM to the current tempo of the sample, so 70, leaving the new tempo at 70 as well. Alright guys, so hopefully this answers the question of how do I change my samples tempo to match my project tempo. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. With that said, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and happy beat making. Peace.